Hey, how we doing? Welcome to welcome to our breakdown here, or my breakdown of our double and singles events for nationals this year. Once again, we bowled in April. I'm going to go on ahead and put the pattern up here. We're going to take a look at that first before we get started. This was surprising for a couple reasons. Or actually, really just one, and that's the volume. We were very surprised that it was number one, so much forward oil, only 23 and a half mils. This is the one thing that's frustrating about them not announcing the patterns ahead of time, because when people travel from out of state across the whole country to go to a tournament, and they're limited to a certain number of balls just because of airline restrictions, number one, for a lot of them, and then trying to make sure that you have options for two different patterns, not knowing what you're bowling on, especially when they do something like this, is a little ridiculous. They have been fairly consistent the last, I don't know, almost 10 years with the patterns, aside from reversing doubles and singles and team. Again, I said last night that team used to be the shorter, flatter, tougher one that you really had to work together to break down. And then doubles and singles was a little longer, a little softer, easier out the gate. And they flipped those. But, I mean, there's really no difference there. It's the same type of patterns. They're just the different, they're just changed the events. But this is a significant deviation from what they've done in the past. This is the lowest oil volume that they've had in a long time. Even team was a little low at 27.2 or whatever it was. Normally they're up around the 28, 29 zone, but 23, we knew it was short. We knew it was flat. But 23 mils sucks a little bit because nobody's bringing equipment for 23 mil patterns. They're just not. And having something that was this short and this flat and this dry, there's one thing, there's something to be said for adjusting and covering all your bases and whatever else. But when you withhold so much information that somebody can't even make an educated decision on what to bring with them in the first place, that's a little stupid. And this is not the time or place for arguments about whether or not they should disclose the patterns, but that's just something that I wanted to point out. It was significantly different here. So the length is 38, the volume's 23 and a half. Again, we covered this last night, but fire, we were kind of surprised that it ended up being fire in retrospect. Shouldn't have been as surprised as we were, but with the way that the back end's carried down, we thought it was ice. But as quick as the lanes transitioned, it makes sense that it was fire. Another thing, most of it's forward oil. There's only 8 mils reverse. And again, this is not the place to break down the differences in oil patterns here. But a relatively short buff, 30 to 38 feet. It's not that far. It's kind of normal. But 1.8 to 1 ratio, very, very flat, short, tough, dry. I mean, when it's this short and flat, normally it plays a little drier anyway, just because the ball screams off the end of the pattern and it's got, 22 feet to hook before it hits the pins. So, difficult, very difficult. So I'm going to go on ahead. I need to share this real quick somewhere else, and then we'll get started. I guess I can go on ahead and start practice. So take this down. Thanks everybody for hanging out tonight. Put me back down in the corner here, and we'll get started. Whoops. Wrong thing. Play.
As a reminder, altering the surface of the bowling ball during competition is prohibited. National Bowling Stadium, we're ready to begin. At the sound of the bell, you may begin competition. Good luck and good bowling.
I'm going to skim through practice. I didn't want to re-render this video just to skip over 6 minutes of practice. I mentioned last night, Chaz had a very smart strategy that ended up helping us quite a bit for this pattern. We knew from Bowling the Bowler's Journal that it was short, flat. I didn't know it was this dry, but we knew it was short and flat. And so his idea was, well, you know, we're both throwing urethane. And so he's like, let's play like 15 to 10 and just push some oil into the back end, because we're not going to have any trouble getting the ball to hook. I mean, the plan was to end up kind of giving it a little belly, but playing it very similar to how we played team. And so he's thrown a tester shot there to begin with, and so he said, let's push some oil. Let's start a little bit further in and push some oil out, because just trying to start and play straight up 5 in the Bowler's Journal didn't work. It was over-under nightmare. You had to throw it very hard to get it down the lane. And if you missed inside, no prayer, no chance. The ball was just going to take off and go nuts. And if you got it just a little firm, there was hang outside of 5. So he thought, let's create ourselves some carry down. Let's create ourselves some hold, and then either play on top of it or move a little back left, whatever else. The thought or idea for the righties was kind of the same. This is one of those, the thing was always like this in team in years past, was when they're, and yeah, we're already having ball return, it ended up coming back, or somebody got it. The thing in years past was on team, short and flat, start right, stay right absolutely as long as possible, because the last thing you want to do on a pattern like this is get in too quick, because you have something that's already pretty flat to begin with. If you get too deep too quick, that used to be what always would trip somebody up, would trip people up in team, and they're like, oh my God, the lanes are hooking, I've got to move left. Well, what they did, there was already oil outside, very flat on the inside, and when you play cross lane or you start at 3rd or 4th arrow, all you do is you push oil from the middle of the lane to the right. And so it's already very dry inside, it's already wetter outside, and so what you do is you take a difficult flat condition and you make it flatter, or almost even turn it into a reverse block. So the important thing to do, even if you have to sacrifice your first game, stay right at all costs, burn the gutter, get yourself some carry down or some blend at the same time on the pattern, but you don't want to get yourself carry down without developing the track to the outside part of the lane. That's the most important part. Because then once you have the rail, or you have 5 board developed, you have a track, you have some friction, then once you get a little deeper and start getting some carry down on the back ends, at least you have the predictable friction to the right to make the ball hook. Getting too deep too quick just creates the carry down without creating the bumper or the friction to the right. And so you end up just taking a tough pattern and making it much more difficult than it already was. And this is a little interesting. I thought that the team pattern, as far as lefty-righty side, I thought it was equal. I had a tough time in team. Chaz did okay, I think, until he started losing his look the last game. But he did fairly solid, and I had a look, I just couldn't hit it. So I think that the left side and the right side balance for team was great. Now on this pattern, I think it was a little lefty favorable. Last year, doubles and singles for the lefties was impossible. Aside from Justin Knowles, who I don't know what he did or how he did it, but the left side last year was absolutely impossible for the lefties. It forced us in, but then it carried down so fast that it was just an over-under nightmare. I think Justin ended up playing like he's a slow hooking lefty that was playing like 4th arrow with a purple hammer, and I could see that working. But anybody else without a purple hammer, like we didn't. If we'd had a Zen U last year, it would have been a different story. We didn't have a Zen U last year. Reactive didn't work. It worked for a couple shots, and then it just gave up the ghost. The problem with this for the righties is that urethane is going to be okay. It's going to hold up fine for the even like help the lefties out. It's going to give us control. It's going to continue to pick up oil in the fronts and push it down to the back ends, and so that gives us predictable friction up front, and then blend down lane so we can just stay there and block it in. Plus, the lefties have much more shape already because it's already less friction up front, more friction down lane. And so as a lefty continues to throw urethane, it kind of turns it into the right side of the lane. It gives us the friction up front and the blend down lane. Now, for the righties that already have plenty of friction up front and blend down lane, urethane is quite a bit earlier and smoother on the right side than it is on the left. And so they start off in a little different situation than we do. And as they use urethane, they can't chase it in like the lefties can, because it starts up early and then there's little to no shape down lane. So while they need it for our lane monitor today was really cool. This guy down here, we really liked him. He took care of us and everything. We didn't have any issues, but he was on top of everything. So I was bashing the lane monitors last night. This guy gets a light golf clap. Did a good job. What's the pattern? The basics of it are 38 feet, 23.5 mils, and a 1.8 to 1 ratio. So short, flat, and dry. And so the righties were, starting off with urethane is all fine and good, but then when they had to transition into reactive, nightmare. We're still in practice, or are we in the game here? I don't know. The problem is that, again, there was so much hook to the right that, it's a little different. If it's in team, again, you got 10 people on the pair, or even if there's a couple lefties, there's at least 8, 9, 10 people on the pair that are bowling on this. With Dallas and James, there's only 2 people breaking this down. And so where in team in the previous years, it would take, all of practice and most of game 1 to get lined up, or to get the lanes transition to the point where you can start paying attention to score. They didn't have that option. It would have taken them the entire double set to get the lanes conditioned where they needed them to. And so they needed to kind of try to score I started this at the first shot of competition. Okay, well, I did not start at the first shot of competition. The video started. The team video actually had all 10 minutes of practice. I guess this one must have just started at the very beginning of the scoring. So the trick was going to be for the righties. It's like, well, we have to start off trying to score, but also try to stay right and develop some kind of reasonable. And Dallas kept going Brooklyn. He didn't have a great tournament, but again, he didn't really sweat it too much because he hasn't gotten a whole lot of reps in, and he normally mows this thing over. So just having one bad year, this was kind of an anomaly for him. So, we'll just come back, try it again next year. Yeah, and so this is the thing. Getting your angles forced too open from using a Zen-U because it was just too much. With the surface he had it at especially, it was too much ball too fast. But I ended up using a lane-shined Zen-U, which may or may not have worked for him, but you're not, as a righty, typically going to go in with a shiny urethane ball. That just doesn't make sense. That kind of defeats the purpose of urethane. Now, knowing in retrospect, it's 23.5 mils. Okay, maybe that's a little different story. Higher RG plus smooth grits and shine was how I eventually did something respectable in singles. Didn't find it until late the third game in doubles. I went too strong, aggressive in game 1, game 2 at doubles. Yeah, and that's the thing, is I think most people did the same thing because, you know, with it being short and flat, you're thinking, okay, I need a lot of surface to blend this out. But the problem is the surface actually made it worse because there was already not very much oil in the lane, but nobody really knew that. They're just assuming, okay, well, it's just how it has always been, and so I need surface to blend this out. Surface was not actually the right play. See, and James just had, he was trying to do the right thing to start off. He just didn't have, and it's really hard to say, okay, we're going to have a plan and we're just going to, you know, take what we take, try to burn the lanes in. But when you start seeing the score not going the way that you want it to, it's really hard to just follow the plan and completely just give up an entire couple games or the whole set just to try to get the lanes where you want them. You start feeling the pressure a little bit to actually you know, you want to still score. It's a whole lot harder than it sounds to actually stay put and just say, okay, well, I'm not getting great reaction, I'm not hitting the pocket, whatever else, but this isn't about that right now. So yeah, Chaz and I got a decent amount of carry down, and it goes really fast with urethane. We got a decent amount of carry down worked in practice. My timing is still not great, and I think what ended up, I was just a little tight. I was placing it too much. You know, at this point, there's really not nerves because, again, I said last night that aside from just bowling several tournaments and being on the left side and not really expecting much of myself, especially once we get into doubles and singles, it's kind of like, okay, well, whatever happens, happens. You know, I'm not at the point where I'm really expecting much of myself, so that's almost kind of works in my favor. But I was just trying to place everything a little bit too much and still not being totally sure what I need to do on tougher conditions, or still learning different types of what I need to do and developing the skills to do it when I know what I need to do. Chaz really set us up for success with his thoughts, because the Bowler's Journal didn't go well for us at all. And I wasn't thinking super great going into this. I was just like, well, team didn't go great. I'm expecting this to actually go worse. And he really set us up for success. So I finally started getting loosened up a little bit. Middle of second game, third game of doubles. Second game, I threw several good shots and felt like I was getting it figured out. And then I started to get too cute with it. In third game, I timing just was not there. And then I started trying to, like, okay, I threw a couple good shots, and then I started getting a little too firm with my hand, and then the timing finally, I kind of got everything to finally click for singles. Yeah, I think the trick was just to get it to not see the first 20, 30 feet of the lane at all. Friction was just so instant. Started with the ProMotion, just turned left as soon as it could. I'm not even sure that I brought out reactive. I think I actually just... I took 9 balls, I think, and I think I only took 6 into this, and I knew that I wasn't even going to end up using those. I could have just taken my 2 urethane balls, and well, I did take 2 pitch blacks, I guess. I took 2 pitch blacks and a Zen-U and then plastic, and then I think I just added I think I added the ProMotion, one of my ProMotions and the Idle Cosmos in there just because, just to fill out the bag. And yeah, I didn't end up, kind of typical, I didn't end up needing reactive whatsoever. And yeah, there was just so much friction in the fronts, and that's what made it really tricky, especially for the righties. It ended up being really good on the left side. But getting it through the fronts without having that happen, and that's where it really just hurts the righties, and where they just don't have anything close, because James is throwing his Zen-U, I'm throwing his Zen-U, and I'm getting push and then a nice little walk in on the back end. He's getting it, reading at his feet, or completely missing the spot. So, and he did say in here that in retrospect he would have taken a Purple Hammer and been throwing that, because it's not as grindy as early as the Zen-U, and it does have a nice little back end move down lane. So in retrospect, Purple Hammer would have been a little bit cleaner, still had a similar shape, but the Zen-U was just too much hook, too much shape. And so then when you try to force it down the lane, then stuff like that happens. It's a very fine line to walk. Thanks for the donation. Here's your magazine. See, and this is weird to me. Said the BJ didn't help me. It just made me think that it was way softer than it would end up being. The tournament lanes for us were much easier than the BJ. Much easier. For the lefties. For the righties, it was about the same. Both of them were just straight up impossible. Yeah, I obliterated that water cooler. They almost had to refill it just from me. So to their credit, the righties did give a nice effort at sticking to the plan. But when you end up at 70 in the 6th or something, it's like, okay, well, screw this nonsense. I'm not going to shoot. And I think that was, James and I were talking back and forth, and he's like, well, I'm just not going to shoot 120 so that I can have a somewhat decent shot later. I mean, that kind of defeats the point. If you just completely throw everything away the first game, it's like, okay, well, he's like, I'd rather go 180, 180, 180 than 120, 180, 220 or whatever. It's like it ends up being the same. There's just a point. There's a tipping point where there's a tipping point. Yeah, 72 in the 6. Yeah, there's a tipping point where you just have to give it up and say, and again, he kind of had what happened to me in the first game of team happen to him in this one. It just paid for absolutely everything. And it was this set wasn't. I had a solid second game, but the first game and third games were pretty rough for me too. I think I shot 570 or something. And again, I'm still like my timing there and just trying to place it and being touchy, and that was my frustration, is I just never could get swing timing right. All right. Hopefully the quality is okay. It looks fine to me, but it always looks fine to me. Hopefully it doesn't look like it's 240p or something. I think I'm going to have to, when I stream videos again, I'm going to have to find a lower quality setting. Yeah, for reference, went 605 in the BJ and 505, 499 in double singles. I started off, Chaz and I just did doubles because it was cheaper. It was like $40 a piece or something. Because we just wanted, that was the first thing that we bowled. We just wanted to warm up, get a look at the pattern, whatever else. And then I started off with the front four, and I'm like, okay, well, this is great. This is great. This would be the one time that I only fire in on doubles and don't at least just say, oh, let's put in on singles just in case we shoot anything. And then I shot 190. I ended up at 190 the first game, and like 5.0, 5.10 or something. It just completely fell apart because the ball stopped. As you know, the ball started shining up a little bit. I was using a 500 grit pitch black, and it looked amazing right up the 5 board. Should be okay. Yeah. I was getting it off my hand better a little bit more often than in team, but I was throwing a good shot, once every 2 or 3 frames instead of once every 4 frames like I was in team. And see, this is when I think that Mr. Shimrecker started to go off the rails a little bit too fast. I'm not sure I'd have made that, and we talked about it, but ultimately you have to go with you can talk about it. That doesn't mean that you have to do what everybody else tells you to do, because ultimately you got to make the decision that you're most comfortable with, because then you're going to commit to it. So while I didn't agree with this, but that's what he was most comfortable with doing. And sometimes it's going to work out, sometimes it's not, but it's not one of those things for somebody to come back and say, hey, I told you so, or whatever. I think making that big of a jump inside, he was having trouble making it through the fronts, and that's kind of a common thing for him anyway. I think that he ends up getting left too fast a lot of the time. But it's difficult for him to clear the fronts. That's something he's been putting in a lot of work on, is clearing the fronts better and easier, but still getting the ball to roll so it doesn't just, because he either has big 4 or 2-8-10 look when he's trying to throw it hard. Because if he gets it a little up the lane, it still digs in and turns sideways. But if he does get it through the fronts, it just continues getting through absolutely everything else. I thought that was a little bit too big of a move because it's already flat and tough. This is just going to start to cliff the lanes. But again, he didn't really end up having the equipment that he, in retrospect, figured out I should have had here. Angel got me a bottle of Lindemann's Framboise, and it has cork in it. And we don't use this thing very often, so this could be fun. But Sorry, puppy. It worked exactly the way it should have. So, sweet. Okay, big lady. I know. I'm sorry, sweet. I'm sorry, the pig. Yeah. All right. Pulled next to a guy in team. Yeah, team was again. I couldn't hit it because I was throwing it like an idiot. But it was very scoreable. I had, if I'd have been throwing it even halfway decent, I had 7-0 there. You know, I thought just cruising to 700. I could have thrown it just good, not great or wonderful or whatever, and found my way to 700. But I went out of my way to make it look a whole lot tougher than it actually was. I've even got my own special Lindemann's glass. How about that? Look at that. Heck yeah, Borkin. This is a, what is this? Is this a raspberry? Yeah, this is the raspberry. Oh yeah. How about those? You good sniff? Get your fuzz. Thank you. Nice doggy. Same pixelation as yesterday. Well, that's great. Pretty blurry. Looks at least 360p. Not as crisp, but clear enough to know what's going on. I think that's kind of the important thing here, is that we're not, sorry that it's blurry. The next video should be fine, and we're about there. Because we had the same problem yesterday. See, the first video, for some reason, always seems to be dumb. So, hopefully, yeah, see, this is the thing. I can't judge people for trying to chase a score after a rough first half. That's when it starts puckering you up a little bit, and you're like, okay, well, like I said a minute ago, it's all fine and good to want to stay put and develop the lanes, but if you shoot 120 out the gates, then that kind of defeats the purpose. And that was James's argument, is like I'm not gonna shoot 120 just so I can maybe shoot 200 later. I've got to right the ship or figure something out. And this is the thing. You hit on it, and I mentioned this earlier. When this was the team pattern, when, you know, because the short flat one used to be the team pattern where everybody kind of have to work together, and see, Dallas is coming back chuckling about this. This is like a pro move right here. He just not having a good year, but he knows that he knows how good he is, and he knows it's like, okay, well, this just isn't. It's just kind of funny at this point. This is just a bad year. Haven't gotten a lot of reps in, you know, whatever. But this is the real trick. And so this is kind of the lefty experience without, you know, it's still a little bit different on the right side, but this is they got kind of the lefty experience. When you have absolute error, it just doesn't get better or change very fast. You know, when you are fishing and fighting for a look and you don't have anybody else on your pair or enough other people helping you break the shot down, this is what you end up with. You just end up struggling indefinitely. Yes, that was a great shot. Yeah, I've actually got that in my, I've got the Spectre bowling pin stopper in my bottle of the non-alky stuff. So, and no, I'm going to drink this bottle, so. Yep. No, it's 1 pint 9, so it's a beer and a half. And no, this is only like 3.2%. barely even got anything in it. Yeah. Yeah, so it's about like getting old grocery store beer. Most other beers 5 to 7%, and this is 3.2. So. Yep, I am wearing the space kitty. Meow meow. Yeah. Meow meow meow. Now the top speed. Okay, I'm going to pause this for you. Thank you, sir. I'm going to pause it. So, Chaz had a solid game, 212. I had a mediocre game. 180 again was better than I thought I was going to do starting off. Dallas and James had it pretty rough. A couple pretty good bowlers that just tried to do it the right way to start, and it just didn't work. And then they tried to chase it later, and that was just to forget about it and move on. Think about reverse brackets. So, all right, I'm going to go on ahead and pull game 2 in. Hopefully this is better quality. Yeah, watch Waz's ball hook set at about 35 feet on the lane to the left. Yeah, it was. Yeah. This is what happened yesterday. The first one that we pulled in was rough, and then the second one, it's like, oh, okay, this is clear now. That's great. I don't know what the problem is, but I'm happy for everybody. So. Now you can see us suck in HD. Pretty good shot from Chaz. And this is another weird thing. Like I was talking about yesterday, when Chaz is doing well, I'm not. And then as soon as I start to get it figured out, it starts to go away from Chaz. The Mush Dare Goat Pre-Bowler Fan Club is here. My timing's better, and I'm getting out of the ball easier. All I wanted to do is just get to the bottom and soft hand it, kind of spring out of it. But when I try to get too soft, then my forward swing ends up getting fast. Now here's the look that I thought was, he went through a progression of a few things, and once he got the top speed out, it's kind of like, okay, that's the look, and he's right enough that it's like, okay, well, this is going to be in the right part of the lane. I don't think it ends up lasting too long. So. Dallas is still trying to go back a little bit to the right. And it just, even with him riding the 2 or 3 board all the way down, there's so much friction, and then so much length on the back end for hook. Rams him with a great shot over there on 55. Santa Claus. There was a lot of frustration from pretty well everybody else, but Derek Lewis, he finally started getting some hits. He threw it just as good as he did in team. He just finally started getting some hits. He's on 55 and 56 with Ramsden. Yeah, Chaz has this. He's got such a nice roll where he can get it to roll heavy, but his speed kind of keeps it on line, and then he's really good with his angles. And so, yeah, he can shove it. You know, he's really good at shoving it to where it still reads the front, but then blends down lane really well, and that kind of helps him. That helps him a lot at the pocket. Sorry if this is redundant, but just making sure it's blurry for other people too. They got blurry again. Naturally, let me pause it. Let me take it out and then pull it back in. That's probably not going to do anything. And just delayed it again. No, that did fix it. Weird. Let me know when that happens again, because if that fixes it, that's super easy. I just turn it off, turn it back on. Yeah, one or two. That was a pretty good attempt at the old 3-pin. And I think that's the thing, is I got done throwing that shot. I'm like, just keep throwing it like this, please. Because when I get tight, I get rigid. And then it doesn't. My swing timing gets out of whack. And so I end up just kind of dumping, bailing on it at the bottom. That's in. Ramsden. Dallas is still trying to give it the high hard one. Brooke. 5-pin. There's just so much friction in the front. It's not a. It kind of forced all the righties left. They just had to. Let's get blurry. That's a focus issue. Camera focus. It is kind of unfortunate that Chaz and I can't ever bowl well together at the same time, because main video is blurry again. Pixelated. Decent attempt. Take it. Do that. These videos that are small enough, I can actually upload them to the streaming software. So we're going to try that. We'll try playing it that way next time instead of streaming it from my computer. So see if that works. with a good shot. WJ, I have no idea what you just said. There's I'm using a streaming service called Restream, so yeah. Now I can stream OBS through Restream. However, not an option with what I'm doing at the moment. And again, I will have all of these uploaded without just uploaded as is. So you should be able to see them clear if you just want to turn this on in the background commentary while you have the chart RAM. While you have the video going. Should be a whole lot higher quality upload to YouTube. Worse now, copy. Let me try. Ooh, let me go ahead and. Okay, well, that's taking forever now. Let it and remove it, and then try to pull it back in. About to throw a shot, I believe. All right, he already shot the 5-pin, so we're just gonna leave it here. Yeah, that's something I did. I'm trying to upload the other videos to Restream so that we don't have this problem. But yeah, trying to upload 4 other videos while also trying to stream at the same time is probably a bad decision. How are we looking now? I might actually have to cancel those other ones and I'll just try to upload one at a time. What's it looking like? Oh, well, let me. I just need to pull it up on the other. Yeah, I canceled the other uploads. Just to kind of tell what's going on. Still bad. Still bad. I guess you can still at least kind of see what's going on, but yeah, this has never seemed to work out very well when I try to stream local video. Restream's also in Ukraine, so that doesn't really help. Okay, so I canceled the wrong ones. That's great. Getting marginally better, looks like. There we go. Now it's getting better. That's good enough. All right, now it's back to normal. There we go. Ah. Full HD. Look out, y'all. Bruce, Brooke. Yeah, the true secret to driving chat engagement 360p. Yeah. It looks pretty good now. Thanks for everybody for sticking through this. See, unfortunately, I think I'm just going to have to do this and then upload it later. I like doing it live to be able to chat with everybody, but doesn't seem like that's much of an option. And I'm already setting up like an idiot, so this shot's probably not going to be great. Yep. You just tell from where the ball is seated at. Yeah, this was great to watch because I didn't go this year, and for the looks of it, I'm okay with it. Yeah, this was not a great year to go because the tournament generally ran really well, but if a USBC run tournament, if USBC Nationals, if the actual bowling is the highlight of the trip, it was a pretty wretched trip. It was still kind of annoying just because they're general Nazis with the camera stuff. Anytime you take your phone out, you get eyeballs all over you, and it's just very, very annoying. And then the fact that I couldn't even put my stuff in the squad room unless I was fully and properly dressed. So I get in there to team. You know, we had a team practice session in the morning, and I wanted to go get changed and take a shower or whatever else. And so I'm not going to drag my stuff all the way back over to Silver Legacy and sweat my ass off dragging it all the way back. So I thought, okay, we get done. I'm just going to go put my stuff in the squad room, just check it in, put it in there, and then go get cleaned up and come back. They wouldn't even let me in the squad room, leave my stuff there. So luckily enough, there was somebody else there that was in the group, and they said, yeah, I'm going to be here. And so, yeah, I went back and got cleaned up and got dressed, and I had to pick the stuff up and lug it all the way down that stupid-ass hot hallway that they had to go check your stuff in, and then had to pull it all out and get it. And I wanted to do that while I was already hot and sweaty from the practice session. So I marched all the way over from Silver Legacy. Terrible shot. And then drag it all back there. That was pretty close. But so yeah, then after marching all the way back from Silver Legacy and then dragging my stuff in that hot ass hallway, freaking greenhouse, get to the back there, and then everything out and everything up on, and then everything after they weigh it, putting it back in there, and then dragging it down to where we were at. I needed another shower by the time I was done with all that. Yeah, team wasn't too bad to bowl, but this was miserable. I don't get how bowling centers will tell you. It's like, yeah, we had the AC running at 65 all night. It's like, well, how come it's 1,000,000 degrees in here and then somehow gets cooler over the next couple hours? Well, there's, 300 people in the building. That doesn't make any sense. There's nobody in there and then it gets cooler when you stuff it full of people. That doesn't math. I used to do heating in there. I know how this works. And then there's me making sure that I don't twist it in my backswing. Trying to just stay inside of it and project it. But I don't want to just straight up flag it at the freeboard. That was decent. Won't hook enough. Oh, what? Okay. That was pretty okay. Pretty okay. What has been your favorite city, not in the state of Nevada, to go to the OC? Albuquerque was a bunch of fun when we went there in 2008. El Paso we didn't really do a whole lot in El Paso, but El Paso was a lot of fun in 2012. I generally like Reno, at least before this year. The row, there was plenty of restaurants that we liked, and everything was fairly reasonably priced. And I don't remember going to a zoo in Baton Rouge. It might have been. I don't think that was. I don't remember going to Baton Rouge was 2012. When was El Paso was 2015 or 2014 or whatever. Yeah, El Paso was like 2014 or 2015. I don't know. I thought Baton Rouge was dirty and wasn't a whole lot of fun. I didn't bowl well there either. We went to a restaurant and couldn't get crawfish. Never had crawfish before. When you go to Baton Rouge, you figure they're going to have crawfish, but apparently crawfish season was over. So no crawfish, and the seafood that we did get was mediocre. Syracuse was an absolute dump. 2 of 10 would not bang. Never felt safe there the whole time. Crowded, nasty, dirty, awful. Just no. The rest of Syracuse, where the bowling center's might be great, but where our hotel was 10, 15 miles away from the bowling center, that wasn't much nicer of an area. Worried about the car in the parking lot. And then where the Bowler's Journal wasn't that great. It was just kind of a normal bowling center, and it was in a kind of a rough part too. It just terrible. My favorite's Vegas, actually. Yep, and the drive's okay. So yeah, I think those are the only places outside of Reno and Vegas. I think the only places I've been: Baton Rouge, Albuquerque, and Syracuse. I don't think I've been to it anywhere else. Solid spare there. Alright, try to upload Team 6 up there. What are we watching right now? Still, we have to still be in game 2. Video storage, upload, game 3. Let's try that. And what quality plummet? True. And now we're getting little stutters. There we go. Yeah, we're just not going to do this. I got game 6 up there. This is going well, so... Alright, I just turned the upload off, so it should clear back up. I'll probably go ahead and start them uploading after I'm done with this. It's going to take them a while to get up. Plus, I actually have to put them together because they just recorded them and sent them one game at a time. And so I need to put them in the editor. I need to render them all together first. I'll probably render them in... I'll just do team games together and then doubles and singles all together. Makes them all about 3 hours at a time. We are nearing the end of the second game. This is just one of those snowball effects for James, I think. Yeah, SWAC, they have specific patterns that they build every year for these, so. I think around the 10th frame, we should be pretty close to that for game 2. Whoops. And that ball somehow did not hook. It's always nice to watch. Decent shot. Nice. Did that. Ramsden. What ball is your favorite from the new releases? Zen Gold Label right now. But so yeah, that's just Zen Gold label from the 4 most recent releases. The Virtual Energy Blackout, though, pretty decent shot. Just gave a little bit too much room. Flat 7. I think I missed this because my spare ball and I just were not getting along. I was not able to get out of it right for some reason. And so that's why I'd been throwing my pitch black at everything that wasn't a 7, 10, and team. I think I eventually get it figured out, but I was also doing something stupid. So it just wasn't working out. See, I think James at this point was going back and forth from try not to throw it out the window and get it down the lane. If he got it down the lane, it wasn't going to do much. And if he kept it from getting down the lane, it just dug in at 20 feet and better shot. They changed the. So another 2-teen for Charles. Shot 212 the first game, 212, 213. I had a decent game there aside from just that spare that I missed. In the middle, I was relaxing, getting more comfortable, finally getting my mechanical stuff worked out. Very happy with after that first game getting to 220, thinking, okay, well, I've got it figured out now. Dallas got it figured out good enough to get to 2-0. James bounced back too, so we all had honestly pretty decent games that second one. So pulling game 3. Keep forgetting the ball. Yep, get it going to the right, but not too far to the right. Get it down the lane without going too far down the lane. So, yeah. James did get the full-on lefty experience because at that point, you know, most lefties were like, well, we'll just hang out and try to keep it in play until the lanes open up. But when there's 2 people bowling, the lanes don't open up. You just have to make shots. This is my nightmare. It really is a pretty helpless and frustrating feeling when you are bowling in a phone booth and there's no relief or nothing that you can do to really change it. And it just doesn't feel like you're bowling on the same stuff. Threw that out the window. It just doesn't feel like you're bowling on the same stuff that everybody else is bowling on. And no matter how good you throw it, it's just not going to happen. That was a good effort. But again, like I was talking about yesterday, I was trying to make that, especially in the first frame of a game, you go for that. Count doesn't matter near as much the first frame or the last frame as it does in the middle of a game. Ramsden. Fresh. That's going to hook fresh. So all you have to do is just throw it perfect and you're fine. Good shot from Crouch over there on 52. But it really does get frustrating when it feels like no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to keep up with somebody else on the other side of the lane that has a good look, that is just going to continue to get better with transition.
More important one.
Brooklyn. Just got the old hand around that one a little quick. Hello, Shadow. Thanks for tuning in. It has been a pretty okay weekend so far. We do have a great community on the Discord and the Patreons. And then Patreon actually has a free 7-day trial function now, so you can join and get access to the paid side. Give it a week and see if it's something you'd be into. Decent shot, not great. See, I knew it when I let it go too. It's like, well, that's gonna hit the pocket, but I didn't throw it good enough for it to. That wasn't quite good enough for it to hit or kick that 7 out. Chaz is having trouble with the approaches now. Yep, that was a straight up flag right from the word go. My shoulder, yeah, my shoulders were too closed. My shoulders are pointing at the 5 pin, and then I try to like fling it at the 7. I think I got that figured out. So after this, once I get into singles, I think I miss a couple easy spares early on in the first game, and then get it figured out from there. Good shot there. Get the hit. Yep. Got a break there. Again, I got my hand around you. Everything was fine until I tried to catch it a little bit too much. I wasn't clean and easy with it. Me standing over the vent because it's 1,000,000 degrees in there. So just never turn the air conditioners on until they started the squad. So it's like 80 degrees and muggy and nasty in there. Yeah, I think this was just the theme for the weekend, is that nobody was very sharp on spares. That seemed to be a pretty, and normally that's not the thing, but everybody this year, for whatever reason, just flagged tons and tons of spares. Yep, SD was brutal, very difficult. I think the overall experience favored the lefties this year. I mentioned that earlier. Singles and doubles ended up being very okay on the left side, but there was no way to get the right side to where the left side got to. And the team event, I thought, was equal. It was just dead equal between left and right side. Yeah, we had now this was the 7 a.m. squad, but we went in April, and so it was not nearly as warm in April as it is now, and it was still 1,000,000 degrees in there. And I think I get lucky on this. Oh yeah. Again, I kind of shouldered it, elbowed it, shoved it, whatever else, but it was at least in kind of a generally okay place. Whatever. Close, but still not there. Yeah. You'd think with selling $15 beers and $18 mixed drinks, they could afford to turn the air conditioning on. This is some part of it. If you are struggling or are grinding, spares will at least keep you out of trouble. But at the same time, when you're at a tournament and you have 330 going in, you're not terribly invested in shooting spares. You're kind of already mentally just saying, okay, well, I'm going to keep taking looks. That was a pretty good shot. You're going to keep taking looks and try to get it worked out for the next set. Yeah, $6 Gatorades. Yeah, and this is the thing. They have that stupid ass hallway that's on the sun. That's going to be on the sunny side of the building, and those stupid windows. They do have stuff over the windows now, so it's not as bad as it used to be. But you definitely don't want to get stuck in that hallway in a line to check your stuff in. Yeah, some of these shots are great directionally. The problem was you had no idea what the ball was doing when it exited the pattern. Yeah, sometimes it turned sideways. Sometimes it would not. Like that shot from Jason over on 52. Looked like it was okay, and then it just never did anything. It was so sensitive. I think, again, team was not left to right sensitive at all. If you threw at the right speed, you had, I'm not going to say quite an arrow. You had at least a single board either side of your target. So you had 3 or 4 boards if your speed was right. And I think that was the other thing in doubles and singles here too. is that if your speed had to be on point, but there was the speed was most important still in doubles and singles, but left to right was brutal too. You had to just execute, nail everything. That was a great shot. I knew as soon as I put it off my hand, I just kind of dumped it. Oh, I forgot to, yeah, that's the other thing. I forgot to turn my notifications off on my watch, and it probably buzzed in my backswing. And everybody's told me that, me bowling left-handed and wearing my watch on my left hand bothers me. But that's the hand I'm used to wearing it on, and it works out as long as I turn my notifications off. Great spare attempt. This was frustrating because right after I shot a decent second game and thought I was figuring it out, then I just go into full meltdown mode. Chaz got around it there. Yeah, I get not running the AC at 60 every minute of every day if you're in the Northeast in the spring or Alaska, but Nevada is not known for its cool weather in any sense. Yeah, and you're gonna have you're gonna have a squad at 7 o'clock in the morning. They were definitely charging enough for concessions, beverages. They could afford to run it, especially in April, when it was actually pretty nice while we were out there. Yep, got a handful of that one. That's a better shot. Held just off my hand. Oh yeah, we've got to slap that one out. Have to. My buddy Jason over there just keeps making good shots, and the ball just keeps not finishing. Pretty decent shot from Chaz. There we go. Yep. Pretty good off the old hand. Good shot from Dallas. There we go. Alex Ziffy. Oh, ended up being okay. Shoulders were a little bit more closed on that one than somehow it all worked out. And there's where I think that James got a little too far left. But again, he had been having trouble getting the ball down the lane, so you got to do what you got to do. But he's been working at the stand right and trying to splash the pocket or try to just fade the middle a little bit better instead of creating shape down lane. This would have been great in this instance because I think the top speed was blending stuff well enough that if he could have stayed right and just upped the speed and kind of trapped it at the pocket, it would have been better than moving in. But Bruce, I think that was either a pitch black or a black hammer on 52. Decent shot. There we go, Downs. And seeing exotic and a purple. James is in a top speed right now. I used a Zen U for all 6 games of double and singles. Chaz was in his purple hammer the whole time. Dallas was in several different things. Using the exotic right now. I think he ends up getting into a Hustle USA, maybe a IQ Ruby. A little too much hand there. See, because now he's in the zone where he's deep enough to where he has to help the ball get back up the hill now. But where he was at a minute ago, he had to help it get down the lane. An LT48 in my bag for conditions like this. If I see players struggling leaving splits, yeah. An 80D urethane ball would have been perfect about this point. Not a great shot. Definitely caught it too much. Instead of kind of just letting it go, I got a little hooky. And I'm pretty sure I just straight up grab and flag this one to the right. I just missed the entire thing to the right because my spare ball just was not getting off my hand right. Charles. Spares are good. Yeah, that wasn't necessarily a brain fart. That was just my plastic ball hadn't been getting off my hand the entire time so far. It didn't get off my hand good in the Bowler's Journal. Didn't get off my hand good in either of the team practice sessions. Team didn't look very good warming up, and so I threw my pitch black at everything that wasn't a 7-pin. So I went back into using plastic for this set just because I knew I was going to have to. And it just, until singles, it just looked really bad. Yeah, Clint, this is tons and tons of fun. Bruce, that won't hook. Yeah, picked up a 210, a 1-2 410, and then missed 2 510. Sit. No, he was shooting it up. All right. How about that? Broke. Solid attempt there. Solid attempt. Bucko, what are you doing? It's got a little too. I was starting to get a little too firm with my hand. I don't know why I started figuring it out in the second game and then lost it again in the third game. Decent shot for James there. Just from that angle, the ball's starting to labor a little bit on the back end, and just not. Oh, thinking John Tiffany should be here soon. Yeah, he said he had something going on I wasn't going to be able to watch, but yeah, he might be. That would be cute. Yep, I definitely. That was not the attempt that I wanted to make it with spare, but it worked out. Yeah, and then there's a. That's just the way that set was going to end, I think. There's a decent shot, but I olayed it and just never saw it. And I'm like, okay, great. This is going to be good. So solid set for Charles, 626. He just kind of stayed out of trouble, 2-teen, 2-0, serviceable. 570 on the doubles pattern. I wasn't going to be mad at that. I did better than I did in team. And this is the much tougher. This pattern was nasty. If you'd have told me I was going to shoot 575 in doubles going into it after shooting 5-0 in the BJ, I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. I'll be fine. And then yeah, it was just the struggle bus for James, and yeah, and then Dallas shot 550. But I mean, this is just a nasty pattern. Just a nasty pattern. I think you can see on the other side, 520 and 516, and then a couple of 160s going into the 10th. So they're not going to shoot anything better than 520 and, maybe not even 500. Or, yeah, maybe not even 500 over here on the other pair. So it's just, it is what it is. So we're going to move on. Volume. We are back for singles. Yeah, we didn't have any ball return issues in singles and doubles. Sea-Lance, this is just it's the Nationals pattern. So they make them special for Nationals every year. So it's just this is the Nationals, the 2023 doubles and singles pattern. That's just what it's called. Cheese and winery today for some music and yummy food and drinks. Sweet. That sounds fantastic. Get every drop. Yeah, I mean the wine bottle, all the Boulevard stuff was like $20. Decent shot. I'll take that. Decent shot, not mad. Just got it a little wide. A little wide and kind of half suitcased it. Didn't really get behind and through it. So it just floated a little bit too much. In Tour, tried moving a little bit back to the right. Got a full handful. Nice spare attempt there. Not as good as I'd have liked, but yeah. Shot 518 in singles. How about the 214 game 3 of the set? I had to stand in front of the ball return and crank it. No chance to hit the pocket otherwise for me. And that's what I was talking about earlier with them releasing patterns or not releasing the patterns. You know, they've been fairly consistent with what they've done. They've just kind of adjusted it a little one way or the other, but they've been pretty consistent with the pattern lengths, volumes, ratios. And then this year they decided to give us a short, flat 23 mil pattern. Nobody brought equipment for this. You know, if it's a local tournament and people can bring 10 or 12 balls, that's one thing. But when you're flying and trying to figure out equipment for two different patterns, and then they throw something in there that you weren't expecting, they don't even give you a chance to. They don't even give you a chance to make an educated decision. So this was a little unfair going this direction with the pattern. And there was somebody there that was saying, yeah, they didn't intend for it to be this tough. But I don't know how you look at that and say 38 feet, 1.8 to 1, and 23 mils and think that that's not going to be brutal. That just doesn't make any sense. It's already going to hook tons from the ratio and the length, and then you don't even put any oil on the length. Looking back, you have anything you wish you would have done differently equipment-wise, i.e. surface or one ball instead of another? This was a question Angel asked last night for team, and I think it's a whole lot more applicable in doubles and singles. It's a pretty decent shot. I'll take it. Still kind of a little too square, elbowed it a little too much. Just kind of half suitcased it, didn't get that great of a roll on it. So this was more applicable in doubles and singles, and I think James definitely would have brought Purple Hammer. My look was fine. I just needed to throw a little bit better in doubles. I would have definitely done the Zen U again, and I think that's just a thing in general. Is if you're a lefty and you show up and urethane works, I mean that's just normally what's going to happen anyway. So did actually start to figure out my plastic ball here. Just turns out if you aim your shoulders in the direction of your target, that helps a lot. To play devil's advocate, if you're bringing 6 balls, you shouldn't have something for every situation that might come up, which I get that, and I get that they want to challenge you, but it's a whole different. It kind of gets into unfair territory when. You know, it's like here, screw in this screw with a hammer. It's just not. You should be able to have the tools for the job, and then it's whoever does the best work ends up doing the best. Not, well, I didn't know what I was planning or packing for. Didn't end up having the right tool for the job and lost because of that. It just doesn't. It's like showing up to a I don't know. Showing up to a golf tournament and packing a driver and whatever else, and then finding out it's a par 3 course. It's like, oh great, well, I have a driver that's not going to do me any good. Should have brought more, short irons and wedges. I end up with a driver, a 3 hybrid, 7 iron, 9 iron pitching wedge, and a putter. Like, well, the first 3 clubs I packed aren't going to get any use. And this is the other thing. This is what they do for the tap. They don't show you what the actual pattern is, but at least giving you the length and volume helps you prepare. Even if you don't have all the load information, the ratio, whatever else, knowing the length of the pattern and the volume will help you get close enough or get reasonable enough. Could you use the UC3 on this shot? I don't think so, because I tried to use my UC3 in the BJ, and it just, not a prayer. Not a prayer whatsoever, just way too much core, number one. Solid shot there. So yeah, that was the other thing I guess I did have with me was a UC3, and it was just way too much, period. Yeah, I understand making it a challenge and not announcing the patterns if it's hard. But it's hard, basically impossible for an amateur tournament that limits balls. Just proves again the intelligence level of the USBC. Yeah, it's just, you have people that come to nationals that bowl on house shots all year. This is the only time of the year they're going to bowl on something tough, and then they show up and they bowl on stuff that even very good bowlers are beating their heads against the wall. And, they say, well, if it's, if you give the patterns out, then the good bowlers are going to be able to practice on that, put it down, and know what they're, have a game plan and know what they're going to do. Well, the good bowlers already know what nationals is about. They don't need a graph. They're just going to practice on patterns from previous years, just to get themselves in the groove of the idea. Generally what's going to happen at nationals every time. The good bowlers are going to bowl good every year, regardless of whether or not they hand out the patterns. And so they say, well, it gives the better bowlers an advantage, but and then they say, well, bowler, if you're not a good bowler, you don't know how to read a pattern graph anyway, and it doesn't help you. And so we need to hide the patterns to help us even the playing field a little bit. It's not going to even the playing field. The good bowlers are going to figure it out, whether it's there or not. It's just in the interest of transparency. And bowlers that aren't that great, you can learn to, if it's really that big of a deal, practice more. Learn to read a lane graph. Put some effort in. Just don't. The good bowlers are the good bowlers because they put effort in. And if you're not going to put any extra effort in, but you're going to whine and complain about it, then just don't go to the tournament or something. Like I don't understand. And then there's plenty of other people. Well, I work 80 hours a week or whatever. I used to work 80 hours a week too. Still kind of work 80 hours a week. But half of it's in bowling, so that does help. But I worked 80 hours a week for a long time. And then I traveled full time for a long time. So, I mean, it can be done. You just don't want to do it. And see, this would be effort. This would be thinking. This would be, okay, well, I don't understand it. Yes, take it to your pro shop or your coach or somebody else that knows how to read a lane graph and have them help you with it. That's called effort. That would definitely help your situation out if you're concerned about sucking at the tournament. I mean, great shot. I made a couple good shots and then just completely threw that one out the window. Decent shot off the hand. Just too much hooky hook. And kind of suitcased it, but suitcased it in the right direction. Pretty decent shot there. Brush. This is another logical fallacy that people don't slow down enough to think through. Practicing on the same pattern in your home center gives you an approximation of how it might be where you're bowling. Different surfaces, friction, all make a difference. Yeah, different lane surfaces, different lane machines, putting the patterns down, different oils. Because fire and ice play different, and they play different from logic, current, whatever else your center may be using. And your center probably doesn't. Most people's centers don't have flex machines. And so all kinds of things are going to be completely different. And these are the same people that get there and say, well, I bowled the bowler's journal because it's supposed to be the pattern. It wasn't close. Or I bowled the team practice session was just nothing like the team. It's like, okay, so it's in the same building, using the same oil, same pattern, same machines that they use for the tournament lanes. Let's see, shot. And that's not close, but you somehow think that it's going to be perfect laid down at home. It's another one of those things that people just do not think about what they're saying for even 10 seconds. And it's like, well, don't give the pattern out because the good bowlers are going to be able to put it down and practice on it. But yet I showed up there and then the same pattern laid down with the same machines on the same lane surface and the same building didn't play anything like the tournament lanes did. Okay, that makes sense. So then if bowling the on-site events using the actual patterns, if that doesn't help, then how is somebody laying it down at home going to help? That doesn't make any sense. You're a good doggy. I know, you're a good doggy. I know, you're a good doggy. I know, what are you doing? It's a good bird. I know. Talk to mama. I know, you're a good mister. Hi, how you doing? You saying hi? I know. Hi, baby. I know. There you go. Don't do that, Mama. Don't do that, Mama. Decent shot. Oh yeah. Slap it out. Slap it off like a douchebag. That was a pretty good shot, though. I just let it a little bit further outside than I wanted to. We're talking like a board. Like I wanted it at 6, and I hit 5. I don't know that this is necessarily it, because if they were actually catering to any certain group, you would think that they would want to cater to, you know, the main group of bowlers that's going to bowl it is 55. Yeah, so it's 55-year-old people that bowl on house shots year round. They're not going to bring you to a tournament with next to impossible patterns that they don't give you any information about up front for, you know, $250 or whatever the entry fee is now. I don't think that's necessarily catering to a certain group. I think it's just the reality of the situation of, you know, it's most people that go to nationals go to it just because it's nationals. They know it's going to be miserable every year. They know they're going to suck, but they just go to nationals because that's what you do every year. And we do the same thing. Great. My buddy was trying to come up with a team name and he came up with the Slap Outs. Yeah. You don't name your team the Slap Outs. And then I think the curmudgeon group was complaining the loudest about the Matt McNeils of the world having a huge advantage with the patterns being disclosed. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about a second ago, was the ones always talking, well, if you have the live streams and give people the patterns, the better bowlers are going to know what to do. It's like, well, the better bowlers kept doing well and kept winning every year since with no patterns. So it has nothing to do with that. And USBC caving to that. And yeah, so this is not throwing anybody a bone. This is just stupidity. So, yeah, and there were people that, there definitely were people that were complaining that it's like, good bowlers are going to be able to take the pattern. They know what to do with it, and they're going to be practicing on it for months before they go out there. It's like, no. The good bowlers get there several days ahead of time. They bowl the Bowler's Journal several times. They bowl the team practice sessions several times. Bowler the BTM tournament. They watch for hours a day. They get there and they prep and they practice and they work on it. That's how they end up doing well. They don't need the pattern information gives you a general idea what to bring, but then you have to figure it out on the fly because it's not ever going to be exactly like it looks like on paper. Yeah, it is catering to a certain group. Sadly, that group is the egos of the leadership of the organization. And this is the other thing. It's just in the age of information, this doesn't make any sense. Social media age, and you get in there, and it's like a prison. You get in there, you can't pull your phone out, or everybody's eyeballing you. No videos, no pictures. You know, we'll video your set for you for $200. And then they try to act like it's, we're preserving the competitive integrity of the tournament by not disclosing the lane conditions. That gives no one an unfair advantage. It's like, well, the people that go in June and July get an advantage because they get to see the scoring pace. USBC puts up plenty of honor score videos and whatever else. You can get a good look at the pattern just from a few shots from that. And then better bowlers talk to each other people that go in March, April, May, they'll start talking about, it's like, yeah, this is what we use, this is where we played, whatever else, information gets out there. And so the last thing that ends up being important is a lane graph. They're acting like the lane graph is the almighty source of all things, and it's like, oh well, I mean, it doesn't seem to be hurting anybody. Matt McNeil shot 2,100 or whatever this year, so. And I think that there was enough. I think that after they started hiding them or not disclosing them, he still won more eagles after that. Yeah, this is the other thing too, is with the bowlers. There's somebody else that was throwing a fit on one of my posts that I made about the classified bowler that the USBC screwed the pooch on, and he ended up making $30,000 in brackets because of a situation. And USBC said, "No, you're a classified bowler." And he's like, "Okay, all in button." But yeah, so many people think that special bowlers, if you watch them oil the lanes, the flex walkers do the lanes themselves. They put the lane machine down, push a button, and it oils whatever block of lanes it's supposed to oil. You cannot program, I don't think you can program those lane machines to put down a different pattern on each lane. I think that you have to stop it and say, this is, it's just you hit the button and that's the pattern that it lays down until you stop it and choose a different pattern. It doesn't, it's like, well, and that's what they were saying. It's like, oh yeah, well, they give all the good bowlers, they give them, oh yeah, I flagged the crap out of that. I bounced my hand all over the place. That was great, but I was still trying to get that stupid spare ball off my hand. But yeah, that was really super bad timing, and that was just, I was worried about it to begin with, and so I just delayed the crap out of that. This guy said, well, we had good bowlers bowling next to us, and it was obvious they just weren't bowling on the same conditions that we were. It's like, no, they're actually good. They know what equipment to use, they know what surfaces to use, and they actually make accurate shots. Good bowlers can make a very difficult pattern look very easy. So everybody gets the same pattern out here. It's just the good bowlers actually know what they're doing. I mean, I think if you still have people, shooting big sets, 800s, 750s, whatever else out here. So we have to have tough conditions, and we have to we have to hide the patterns and whatever to help us out. Like, it doesn't work that way. Chuckle, chuckle, chuckle. I mean, the lane machine always puts down exactly what the graph shows. Just ask the PWBA ladies for clarity. Yeah. That's a thing. Dallas with the Hustle USA. Oof. Oof size large. It's up the lane. Oh, we got away with it. Yes, there was an answer given on why it was a machine malfunction. Because it was that, and it was it ended up being a different machine at the second stop that it happened at, but the machine only had the issue at the first tournament on lane 38 and then 41, and it just, I think they ended up saying it was a circuit board something or other. But yeah, it was just a straight up machine malfunction. But yeah, with these new cordless flex walkers, they push a button and it just oils everything. A mechanic doesn't touch it until they need to dump it out or put some more oil in there or something. It just runs by itself. Well, actually, this isn't exactly how it worked. So Kegel took the fall for them, so Chad and Minion could somewhat save face. No, because if Kegel would have just kept their mouths shut, then that would have been a whole lot better. What ended up happening is that USBC said, "Oh no, nothing even happened. You guys are all wrong, and we're going to find you if you speak out." And then Kegel's like, "No, there was actually a mistake. There was a malfunction. Something did happen." And then USBC had to come back around and say, "Oh yeah, so actually there was a problem. Shut. Yeah, we did have a problem, I guess. So now we're gonna have to pay a bunch of extra slots and." This is when the lanes started getting really nice for us. But again, I said yesterday that when Chaz bowls better when they're fresh and he can keep his angles in front of him. I bowl better when the lanes transition a little bit, so I don't have to play quite so straight. So now I've got hook on 5, and I've got push at 10. And so I can just kind of walk it out there, just kind of soft-handed. This is when my timing started actually clicking. All right, into the first game of singles. Chaz and I with 222s, and I knew this getting into that last shot, my fill ball. I'm looking up there. Chaz and Dallas normally hit the all-in button. And I looked up there and I saw, okay, well, I can shoot 223. I knew that we were going to end up splitting some stuff. I just knew. And we did end up splitting. We tied for a handful of reverse bracket finals. Dallas, just not his year. I've seen Dallas sweep brackets before. $5,000-$6,000 back in a single event. I've seen him do it several times. Just was not his year. James held it together, clean game, couldn't really get anything done, but didn't hurt himself. 205. So head on to game 5. Volume. So Chaz is a lot better when he can keep his angles in front of him, again, like I said. And now that he's having to move in a little bit, it gets tricky with his speed. That's decent. There we go. Chaz and his wife Stacy used to run the Greater Ozarks tournament in Springfield, Missouri, for those that have ever been to that tournament. They stopped doing it here just a couple of years ago, but they ran it for probably a decade, I think. So you probably saw, and Stacy ran it for the last couple of years, and Chaz just kind of helped, I think. That was a good shot that I got screwed on. And just as I was starting to figure it out towards the end of game 1 and starting to get comfortable, I think the idea that I got in my head was finally like, look, you've been throwing it awful for a whole set of Bowler's Journal, 2 hours of the team practice session, the team squad, most of the double squad, It's like, what is it actually going to hurt if you just throw the ball? It can't be any worse than what we're doing so far. And so I think I just committed to being firm with it and making a confident shot and taking whatever. Nice save there. So I think I just, especially the last two games, just committed to throwing the shot. If you throw it out the window, you throw it out the window. But this touchy tight nonsense is not helping anything. There's no point in it's not helping. It's not keeping me out of trouble. It's not anything. So you might as well just throw the shot and deal with what you get. That was always my thing. Is like, well, I don't want to just get up there and throw it and chuck it out the window or whatever else. I want to try to make good, solid, steady shots. And that always results in me just kind of being too tight, touchy, rigid, whatever else. It's better for me if I just go up there and make a more firmer, more confident shot. And this is the point where James kind of started to find something to work with, but it still just never. It was the best look that he ended up having, but that wasn't really saying much. Push. Decent, got a hook, nice shot. See, it was kind of odd that Chaz and I actually had a decent look and scored the same game. That first game of singles. So the first shot on the lefty 4-9, whatever the crap that is, 6-8. That was a pretty good shot. The first shot. That is a little outside. It was decent execution. I just missed a little. Maybe opened up just a hair too much. Again, I'm looking at 6, and I think that one hit 4. And the fact that it got back that far, that was okay. Derek on 55 actually got his hits. And this one I thought was a good shot, and then it hooked. And so I'm like, okay, great. I had a good game, game 1. Finally got it figured out, throwing decent shots. I get screwed the first frame and have a couple iffy shots cost me again. So now I've gone open. Oh, ABZ Bowling just joined the Patreon. Thank you, sir. There should be a post if you scroll down a little bit about how to link Discord to Patreon, because Patreon kind of sucks. It's more like a Facebook feed. I can't organize anything there. So if I post something, everything else just gets buried. So most of the activity is on Discord, and there should be a link to the Discord from Patreon and instructions on how to link your Discord and Patreon accounts. But the member side of the... okay. James has got it there. Cool. But yeah, we have a good time in there, so. And make sure you hit the Panda Pack welcome channel, because there are a million things in our member side of the Discord. We have a fantasy football league that's about to kick off. We have a virtual league. We have an entertainment channel. We have a, kind of a support channel. We have a foodies channel. We have a health and nutrition channel. We have a meme channel, which is the important one. You can create your own coaching thread in there. So we've just got millions and millions of things. It's just kind of halfway impossible to keep up with everything that happens in there. There's probably 25 different channels. Yep. Mr. Tiffany's a good dude. Glad to have you with us. I think you'll really like the Patreon at Discord. Got a lot of great people in there. I think I've got the best community by a long shot in the YouTube kind of thing. And that was a shot that the timing was not good. And so this is the point where I start getting frustrated again, because I'm like, you know what? Good shot from James there. I'm watching the wrong screen. A good shot from Derek. Yeah. He made good shots the entire tournament. He just really got screwed in team, and he finally actually got what he deserved in. I tried to chop that. He finally got what he earned in doubles and singles. Yeah, so you can see again, my shoulders are pointed at the 5-pin, and I just kind of flag it. So I'm like, great. Had a rough game, third game of doubles. Get out the gate strong in singles, and then, okay, open, spare. This is great. This is great. That was decent. A little bit of a suitcase. Yeah, I talked about this yesterday during team because they were asking. We were all standing up there near the ball return, and somebody mentioned something about, was there not enough seating down there or whatever? It's like, no, but there's a pretty big concourse, but those stupid couches and tables are just right up on top of the ball returns. And then there's a super narrow little walkway. You have like 2 or 3 feet to get in between these stupid couches, these kind of circular looking couches. And it's just so crowded up there around the ball return, it doesn't make any sense. But then they have like a 15-foot wide concourse behind all that stuff that runs the full length of the thing. So there's plenty of room to stand back there. It's just so stupid up around the ball return. It just doesn't make any sense. Hi, baby. Sweetie. Hi. What? I know, baby. You actually have to go potty. Whoa. Ring the bell, Liesel. Ring the bell. 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 Go ring the bell, Liesel. That's not the bell. It's the bowl. Ring the bell, Liesel. Ring the bell. There you go. So yeah, they do have the circular ball racks that can hold all kinds of stuff, but it's behind the seats, out around. It's not up there actually by the ball return. So it's like, well, this isn't helpful. We might as well just leave them in our bags because we got to walk all the way back out and around these stupid couches to get to the ball rack. Doesn't make any sense. It's a good shot there that didn't go down. I think we were talking a little bit about what the lanes were doing. The fronts were starting to hook for him, but he was using surface. My Zen-U was shiny. I was just a little bit inside of him too. And so he said that he said 54, I think, was really starting to hook for him, and it was just fine for me. So I just kept on doing what I was doing. And at this point, I've got stability in the track, and then I have a lot of blend down lane, so the ball's picking up and then just kind of walking in there. Goodbye. The old 1-5. Sit. The Zing. Ramsden. Yup. That was inside a target. 5-pin. I think he actually misses this. And he's kind of over it. That's a decent shot from Mr. Klaus. Yeah, expensive to miss. We got around that one a little bit. Oh, that was a good shot, but that rack, I kept having issues. The rack on 53 was not great. I remember that now. I did not really like that rack on 53, but they kept falling. So I was not asking too many questions. Yeah, expensive to miss a 5-pin with the $13 beers. Here's a spare. I think he picks to shoot that. Oh no. A little too much room there. Huh? Oh. That's a decent shot. There we go. So, yeah, after open, spare, I've got working on turkey now. Feeling better about my situation. Really just trying to get it back to, at that point, I'm like, just get back to 200, please. Just do something. Don't go 220, 150, 220, which is normally what I do in brackets. You know, I actually came out okay first set because I go 190 or 180, 220, 170. And so just because I had that 220 in the middle of my double set, 180, 220, 170 was actually not bad. I think I doubled up. I think I doubled up on doubles, actually. I was shocked. Or at least broke even or something. Broke even, or maybe it was, I put 100 in and got back 155 or something like that. Shock and awe. Brooke. Yeah. I told this story last night, but in Syracuse, for doubles and singles, my low game was like 192 and my high game was 210 or 211. I shot like 606, 612 or something, and I tripled up on brackets just by staying out of trouble. And so that's what the goal always is. Like if I go to nationals every year and I just shoot 200, well, yeah, that's normally what happens. But if I go to nationals and if I just shoot 200 every game, I walk away making quite a bit in brackets. Get a nice little break on the Brooklyn there that I just elbowed the living crap out of, but it's nice to actually get a break for a change. I feel like I got one back from a team there. It's a little in, but he threw it hard enough, so that'll work. Like now he's to the point where he feels like he can throw it hard without it completely just blowing through the spot. Shot from Derek over there. 55. Derek shot 658 or 659, 660, something like that in singles. And again, Chaz is just starting to lose his look. And the best thing for him to do if he can is just throw it harder. But he's getting into interesting territory where it's not clearing the fronts. But, you know, being a traditional lefty, there's always plenty of back end. And so you don't need to really learn how to, most lefties don't need to learn how to slow hook it. And so he just, if he would have had reactive, I think that he probably would have gotten into something reactive at this point. But with his general game, he's giving it the full yeet. That's his. And he's just trying to get it to not see the fronts and actually do something down lane and trying to figure out the angles as the heads burn, especially since James and Dallas are in there now too. Trying to get that all worked out. There we go. Slap that off. Yeah, the all-in button at one point used to be like $1,500 a set. Now it's actually several $1,000s because of the other stuff that you can get into. They got all the year-long stuff, and then I think it's a limit of 100 forward, 100 reverse. So that's $1,000 right there. Plus the super side, the year-longs. There's all kinds of stuff that you can get into. That was in. Yeah, I think the all-in button now is like 3,000 a set. I typically get in the side pots, so I'll put like 150 in for team, and I just put in 100 each for singles and doubles. And even though I'm still figuring it out, typically putting it down the side with urethane up 5 is going to work out okay. I've actually made money. I think I'm still plus or up as a lefty at nationals. That's a little in. Okay. Yep. Shoulders were a little closed there. Didn't drop my shoulder. Yeah, I kind of everything was pointed at the head pin, and I drilled the head pin straight on. So watching that shot over again. Yep. That was in. That was left the whole way, sir. Don't understand your confusion. Hashtag troll James in the chat. And I actually made a spare that I also tried to chop. So almost shot that, by the way. I think at this point I had a 4 or 5 bagger or something, and got back to respectable. Decent shot. Oh. Wheels are starting to come off a little bit for Chaz. It's just he's getting squeezed now. It's the point. This is the point where he can hit the pocket. That's not the problem. It's getting the ball to go through the pins the right way, and that's what he's running into issues with. That was left. the old Brooklyn 8-pin. I wish I could rewind that. It's like, where did the ball go? Spare? Well, I can, but I don't. Yeah, it's a problem. Y'all can rewind it on your YouTubes. Be the easiest way to do it. Focus problems. Mr. Waz with the, yep, the old back door. Solid spare on the 8-pin there. Have a good, there we go. Just trying to splash them around. Decent shot. There we go. Yep. I think I go strike spare here. Yeah, because this is a strike, and then I leave a 7-pin. There we go. That one was a little in, but again, like I said, we got Ram missed the 5 over there. I'd forgotten about that. That was just a little in, but it was firm enough, and I was actually committing to the shot instead of being like all touchy with it. I was actually getting through the ball and just throwing it. Being, still being soft with my hand, but being firm. Yeah. Not even going to say anything. And then I make this great shot and leave a flat 7. Much better shot. Way to take advantage of the middle one there. And hey, I was actually pointed at the 7 pin. You see that? If you aim at the pin you're trying to throw the ball at, it generally works out a whole lot better. All right. 170 for Chaz. Again, it just he really didn't like that one lane. I was really happy with getting back to 2-teen after open spare. I was really thinking with as tough as they were, like, sure, I shot 220 the first game, but I didn't go open spare to start the game. That already put me in a pretty big hole. And so I'm thinking, okay, just get back to 200. If we can just get back to 200, I got the break with the Brooklyn in the middle of that. Dallas came back to shoot 180, and James had a couple missed spares, but he at least had the double and the 2 triples there to stay at 200-ish. Just keep his head above water still. So that's what we're looking like going into the last game. We'll go on ahead and let me see. I uploaded this. We're going to see how this actually looks. So goodbye to that. Forgetting that. All right, we'll see how this actually looks. Well, that looks good. With my membership tier to Restream, I'm kind of limited on the videos that I can upload. But this looks very clear, so I tried to do that with the team videos, but they were too long. So this might be an option going forward to try to just upload the videos to software first. Quick ball question. Do you think the Tour Dynamics will be better than the IQ Tour? Yes, but it really depends on whether it's going to catch on or not, because the IQ Tour is the IQ Tour, and I'm not sure. More approach issues for Chaz. I think the Tour Dynamics is 100% better than the IQ Tour. It's just people are going to, well, but the IQ Tour is the IQ Tour. It's like, well, that's nice, but this ball is... Again, I hesitate to say better because better is relative, but when you're comparing, it's like comparing one putter to another putter, and, you know, it's like, okay, well, the grip on this one's better, the head is whatever, this, that, and the other, and so given that they're both putters, you can actually compare. Well, like comparing a mix and an ice, the ice goes straighter, and so the mix is fine, but not for me. I prefer the ice because it actually... Oh, that was a good one. But that was just a little bit too far out. And so it was... I was actually thinking it was going to be a mixer because that was out on 5. I got it out a little too quick. So, but given that the Tour Dynamics and IQ Tour are designed to do the same things, the Tour Dynamics does the same things that the IQ does without the negatives that the IQ has. That's 2 7-pins in a row there, y'all. Dag nab. Each game of the team event takes about an hour, and the doubles and singles games take about 20-25 minutes apiece. And actually, they reminded us several times that we were taking too long. I don't know how we were taking too long, though, honestly. I mean, James shooting 490 really slowed us down the first set, but we weren't screwing off. We weren't doing anything, and they kept coming down saying, "Well, you're behind pace. You're behind pace." I'm like, "Well, thank you. We're like 2 frames behind everybody else, and we're up here. We're bowling as soon as we can bowl." I mean. Yeah, I mean, we were up there throwing the shot every time it was our turn to bowl. We weren't screwing off. We weren't walking off. We weren't wandering around. We weren't drinking. We weren't doing anything. We were just up there bowling. Just, you know, took a minute. Yeah, I don't know how. I felt like we were keeping up a pretty good pace. We weren't rushing ourselves, but we definitely were ready to bowl when it was our turn. Good shot over there from Derek. He was throwing it really good. Pretty good shot. There you go. I moved just a little bit inside, and I got the kick. That was not the greatest shot. Yeah, I got to start throwing the shot before the gate comes up. That got me. That was another thing that got me several times, is I would be throwing my shot. You know, somebody else next to me would throw their shot, and then I'd be in the middle of my approach when the rack on their lane bounced and the light flickered down at the tracer boards. I don't know how many times that caught me. I was so focused on trying to, you know, think about what I was doing that I completely forgot to just wait. It's like that bowler in your league that you know you just have to wait on because they're gonna, you know, yell or scream or dance all over the place after they throw the shot. The same type of thing. That caught me several times. Oh, get it. No, not quite. That was a very unlucky hit there. Decent shot. A little heavy-handed maybe. Yep. Another good shot. See, I didn't get that one quite as wide or out there quite as quick. So, and this is where I was. Everything was in time, and I was actually being, you know, firm with my shot. I was getting inside the ball and just walking it out there, but still, you know, being soft at the release, but firm with my arm to just get the ball going out there and then let it walk up. And then after that, I got back and went 289, 279 in league the following, you know, when we got back. And then through the best 190 game of my life, I thought, okay, well, I'm a little tired of the, you know, I'm ready to shoot 800 now. I've had like 4 or 5 790s. And I'm like, I'm going to shoot 800 this time. And then I got just the screw job of my life on absolutely everything. 7 pins, drive-by 8s, stuff 9s, whatever else. It was a clean 190, and I beat the pocket to death. The pins just didn't go down the last game. Good shot from Chaz there a second ago. Yeah, we're gonna try for the 800. I started with the wrong ball in league. Another good shot. just a hair heavy. I shot 680 something in our Friday night league that we just started a couple days ago, and another pretty good shot. In just a little bit, but again, I was playing the hold. But that's what I was talking about. So I had hook on 5 and hold at 10. I literally had 5 boards by the time we just kept with the plan and actually stuck it out, and so I had something to work with now. It's a little outside. But yeah, I shot a pretty decent set on Friday night. I started with a ball that was a little too strong. I started with my dark code, and that was a little too much. I shot 220 something the first game, then I went to my and then after Greek Church after going open to start the second game, I switched to my gold label and ended up hitting to 220 again with a stuff 8 or a stuff 9 right in the middle. I went so I went open, and then switched to my gold label and went 3-bagger or 4-bagger, stuff 9, and then first strike in the 10th, and then I spared or something for 220, but could have been 240. And then the last game, same deal. I think I went strike, spare, 3-bagger, stuff 9 again, cheat, or I left something in the 10th frame, but I could have gone 240, 250, and instead I went 220, 230. So that was a pretty well thrown set. I was 100% on my makeable spares, 100% on my 7 pins because I didn't leave any. That was nice. Big brain strategy. Can't miss it if you don't leave it. And yeah, Dallas needs a little bit of oil, and there's just not oil. We're about halfway through the last game. Thanks everybody for hanging out thus far. Very, very unlucky on that one. That was just a little high. That was not a 6-7 lead there. Or that wasn't a 6-7 hit. Maybe a 6-pin hit. Didn't spare the 5-pin that time. Oh yeah, I forgot he made that. Sweet. That's one of those that's yeah, we're done. We're done with bowling now. His single set didn't go the way as fast, especially after starting with 220. He didn't end up going the way that he wanted to. I think he still ended up okay. I think he still ended up at 610, 615 maybe. That's pretty good. Yep. Ugh. Nice shot. That was pretty good. As you can see, I'm still being soft with my hand, but I mean firmer with my arm and getting it into the lane and projecting it, and then just letting it walk up instead of being so touchy and tight with it the whole time. X is an X. spare. Yeah, that's normally when that happens. That's normally left out your when you're not trying to make it and you just want to get the heck out of there, and then you make a split. But when you need it, it doesn't happen. That's one of those. That's exactly the idea that I got into this last couple games. I decided, you know what, I'm just going to throw the ball and take whatever I get, because years of bowling tight and overthinking things hasn't made it better. So you might as well just chuck the ball and take what you get, because it can't be any worse than you overthinking it. Another pretty solid shot. Oof. Oh yeah, I remember that one. That was that was a little tight. I wanted it out a little bit further in the friction, because this lane was not hooking quite as much as 54 was. And so I wanted to keep it tighter to the pocket on 54, play more of the shim on 54, but play more of the bump on 53. And hey, aiming at the 7-pin, made it again. Look at that. Amazing if you keep saying this, but aim at the pin you're throwing the ball at tends to work. Jason, I am throwing a Zen U. I threw the Zen U for the entire both sets. So the entire 6 games, doubles and singles, I threw the U. There we go. Yeah, just hit the pocket, but again, playing the shim on 54 was the play. And up to this point, unbeknownst to me, I was currently 8 for 8 in the 4-6-8 pot. It used to be the 159. Just used to be the 159 and the 3-6-10. Yeah, this is the one again where Chaz just made the 6-7, but he missed that because he was just ready to get out of there. I remember him saying he actually had 54 hooking more, and I had 53 hooking more. But yeah, I didn't know this, because I'm thinking 159, 3-6-10. I'm like, well, I didn't have that. I'd forgotten all about 4-6-8, and I needed that hit for $720. Instead, 730 or something like that. That was a little firm, and I did suitcase it a little bit. But I was, it could have gone. But I did end up getting $34 for 8 of 9. And so at this point, I'm like, okay, we're still in good shape, because I had 438 going in, spare 5-bagger, spare. I'm still looking up there. It's like, okay, well, we can get off the sheet for 250 still, I think. Because back-to-back spares, ball strikes is 260. So yeah, I'm still looking at the board. I can get to 690 at this point. And so I'm very optimistic. I'm throwing it good. Just a couple of 7-pins that I actually spared. I'm thinking, okay, cool. I didn't sabotage myself. I made a couple confident shots at 7-pin. We're looking good here. And it bit me, because this shot coming up here, spoiler alert, I Greek church on this shot. And if you watch it off my hand, it was pretty good off my hand. And it finally overhooked. I lost both these lanes at exactly the same time, at exactly the wrong time. So really good firm off my hand, and then it just hooks. And this is typical. So it's like, okay, I'm actually making good shots. I spared my last 3 7-pins. Spare ball's coming off my hand, fantastic now. First ball's coming off my hand, fantastic. I've got a chance to get to 690 on a ridiculously difficult pattern at nationals. No, we're gonna just duck hook for no reason. And Greek church, but again, at this point, I'm thinking, okay, whatever. So that hurt. That's 20, 30 pins, whatever that is. But I'm still looking up there, and I'm like, well, I can strike out. You know, I strike out, I can still get to 670 or something. It's like I'm still in good shape. You know, strike out for 220 or whatever. You know, 220, 230. I'm still thinking, hey, whatever, this could have been. Yeah, trying to make something happen. 54 wasn't the one to swing on, but again, that was, I think I remember him saying that 54 was hooking more for him. I think at this point I was thinking about the score a little bit too much because that last one overhooked. And so even though this was my shim-it lane, I think I got a little too soft with it. Or I was intentionally trying to shim this last one. I'm like, just hit the pocket. You know, don't do anything crazy. Don't throw it out the window. Hit the pocket. At least leave something reasonable. Have a clean 10th. Get off. Get out with, you know, 650, 660, whatever else. Solid single set. And that's not what happened. And then that one just decides randomly to not hook and blow through the spot, even though that's the same spot that you know, that one just, so I lost both lanes at exactly the same time. Left lane overhooked, right lane underhooked. And then, of course, there's no prayer I was going to make that. So I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's typical. That's how it normally goes. Have a shot at something. But, as I will say in closing here, I ended up with 648, I believe, going 220, 210, 210 or whatever. And if you would have told me on this pattern going into this, hey, you're going to shoot 640, you're going to shoot 650 basically. You're going to shoot 650 in singles, however you get to it. And I'm sitting there thinking, you know, if you'd have told me beforehand, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that. I don't even care. 650 in singles, I don't care how it happens. And so that's really the way that you have to look at it, because those, you know, those happen at unfortunate times. But if you just think about the overall result of 650 in singles on this condition, if you'd have told this to me at the beginning before I bowled, I'd just said, yeah. It's just say, hey, we're going to give you 650. You don't even have to bowl. I would have taken that in a heartbeat. So that's the way that you have to think about it after the fact. Chaz, 561. He just, that 160 game to finish it off. He lost the pair quicker than I did. That was kind of regrettable finishing the way that I did. And then especially, I mean, if I'd have at least hit the 468, I wouldn't have cared at all. But I lost that to a 7-pin. And then Dallas just wasn't his tournament. I mean, if you want to go back and look at Dallas's other, like look at his 2019 campaign, I think he bowled really well in 2021. He didn't go with us last year. But Dallas, typically, if you look at any of the other years, Dallas mows them over pretty good. And then James just stayed out of trouble. 613, that's a solid cash. I think the cash line was 565, 570, 575, something like that. So anytime you're that far inside of the cash line, that's good. And then it's a good set for brackets because he stayed out of trouble. What did he go? 20, 190, 210. That's a solid solid set for brackets. So anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out. I will get these uploaded just as they are to YouTube. So so you'll be able to see them all in HD rather than whatever the hell happened to start this one and started Team the other night. So you can always play the video of those and then play my commentary for whatever it's worth as the audio if you so choose, or just watch. Just watch and see what you see. That's what I generally kind of recommend people doing anyway. Learn to see what you need to see. But thanks everybody for hanging out. I'll get those uploaded hopefully in the next couple days. And we'll see y'all next time.